I've just had to pull myself away from my laptop because I have been looking at plants and I have got my eye on a few things at the moment. And to be honest, I would really like to buy some new plants. And I know that sounds absolutely crazy. I'm not talking like a huge haul or anything like that, but I have just been looking at a few that have very much got my attention right now. However, I accept the fact that we are pretty much out of space here. I know I have jam-packed my flat full of plants and it is probably, for me, like at my limit. Like, I don't think I could realistically care for that many more. I've been thinking for a while that I want to have a little bit of a declutter of my collection anyway, just go through and look at some of the plants that maybe aren't bringing me as much joy as they once were. And then also, and this is something that I have always been a little bit reluctant to do, but maybe think about combining certain plants. I'm not talking like, I don't know, like you can do whatever you want with your collection, but for me, I think I would struggle with like, I don't know, 2 different types of alocasia. Unless they looked very similar, I think I would struggle with that for some reason, just my brain wouldn't like it. But I am thinking certain types of like Hoyas, for example. I've got a few things that I'm thinking I could pot together to make that plant then appear much fuller, much healthier. And in turn, obviously, it would mean that I was only caring for one plant as opposed to multiples. And it would also save a little bit of space. I don't know. I think I'm just trying to justify my wants to buy new plants. And this feels like the way to go about it. So yeah, that is what this video is going to be today. It's going to be a bit of a declutter, a little bit of a plant chawsy clear out in a good way of my collection, whilst also combining things, and also a little bit of rehabbing because I have just got back from holiday and I have got some plants that need attention. So yes, that's what we're going to be doing today. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learned over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And I realised that was a bit of a waffly start to this video, but as I say, in a nutshell, that is what I think it's going to be. I'm very much just going with the flow today, so we will see where this video takes us, but I hope to come away from it feeling a little bit more cleansed in my collection, if that's the right word, and on top of things. So yes, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So, well, I've got you down here before I set up the table and we start doing things to plants. I just wanted to take you through, for now, just one, but I think we'll get to more. A plant that I just can't make up my mind about, and I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm actually growing this plant in the right way. So it's the Lepismium cruciform, and it's growing very long, and it's got these crazy aerial roots. And I have never doubted my ability to grow this plant until recently. I've been to a couple of different garden centres and plant shops where I've seen the Lepismium cruciform in a very different way to how mine looks. Like the ones that I've seen have been really almost like epiphyllum, really kind of juicy and plump, and they just look really healthy. And I look at those plants and I'm like, oh my God, I would love to own one of them. And then I look at mine and I just go, oh, what's going on here? So yeah, I'm really not sure about this one. This also, as I say, I'm being mindful of the fact that I would like to clear a little bit of space, and I'd like to start getting rid of some things that I'm not totally in love with. I know also Ross hates this plant, and don't get me wrong, there's several of my plants that he doesn't like, and some of them I'm like, no, they're staying. But this one I'm kind of going, do I love it? Like, I don't know. I mean, the answer is no, I don't love it, but I think I love the potential of the plant, and now I've seen what it could look like, I'm like, do I stick with it? So yeah, this one I'm very much undecided on at the moment, but it's one that would, I think, probably lift out quite easily. If you have this plant, if you've got any tips, if you know why mine is very straggly and rooty, then please let me know, because like, look at those roots. They're literally all over it. It's a bit like, I don't know, it kind of feels like a hairy spider in a pot. And it is hydrated currently, and it's getting really good light. I don't see what I could be doing wrong, but there's something that's obviously just not quite aligning in my collection or in my environment. So that is one of quite a few that I think perhaps I might part with. I've got a box of Tradescantia that I'm looking at just over in the corner that has been there for absolutely ages. It's Tradescantia Zebrina. I'll put a clip in of it. That one I don't really know, and I said this in a video the other day, I don't really know why I'm hanging on to that. I picked it up at, I think the Bristol plant swap, just because it was on the free table and it was getting towards the end of the day, and I was like, oh no, I feel like it's going to go in the bin. And so I was like, I'll save it. And I don't even like the plant. So I think I'll probably ask my neighbours first. That always seems to be the best port of call. And then, yeah, I'll cross that bridge. But that's another one that I definitely don't want. And one more before I take you over to the table. I actually filmed a video that I didn't end up using just before the weekend because I wasn't feeling very well. I filmed this whole video and I was just like, oh, I just look ill and I don't feel good about it, so I scrapped that video. But in that video, and I'll put a clip of it in, I showed you something very sad, which is my shingling section of my Monstera dubia. I got back from holiday and that one was just close to, I mean, pretty much dead. It was on its way out. It's been on its way out for a while. And I think just like, it's almost like when you chop a plant from the same point so many times that it becomes a spent node. I almost feel like that entire plant was spent because I had chopped it back so many times. Obviously, I've got my big, beautiful section of growth from that plant. So it's not like I'm just chucking it away and I'm left with nothing. However, that one is now currently sitting by the bin. So that's a fairly big one I've cleared out, actually. And I was talking about that in a Patreon video, and I did actually have a little rearrange in that video. And as you might be able to see behind me, I've actually trained my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma to climb the wall and go around the door. And that's the position that my shingling Monstera dubia was in before. I just felt like I needed to put a plant there. I thought it would look quite bare with nothing there. And you know what? Although it doesn't have the same effect as the dubia, I actually quite like it like that. I think it looks quite nice. I think that is much better conditions for that plant because previously that plant was just over in this corner here and it was so squished and I didn't even realise how big it had got. So yeah, I think that's going to do the plant better. And it has also freed up, I mean, I say freed up a bit of space, freed up a little bit of space over here. So if I want to train more things, then I absolutely can. But one thing also that I've been meaning to do for a really long time, I've got my Hoya Australis Lisa that's just coming down the side of my cabinet here. And it's put out this massive section of growth. I'll put a clip in because I'm not sure how well you'll be able to actually see just from where I'm standing. This massive section of growth that has kind of twirled its way around and started to climb my pothos plant that's there. And while I quite like it, I've got so many like little sparse bits of growth on that plant. I'd quite like to actually chop that section and chop it into smaller sections to propagate and then either pot it up again with this plant and, as I say, make it much more full, or take it to the next plant swap and then I can swap it for something better there. So yeah, I'm going to set up the table to combine some plants and I'm going to take a big cutting of that and then, yeah, then we can carry on. So let's start with this section of my Hoya Australis Lisa, just because I think it's going to take all of 2 seconds. So this is the bit that I've chopped, and as you can see, there are just lots of kind of bare bits of stem on it. There is some foliage, but I'd like to just chop that, and I just found this old like hummus pot or whatever it is. I think I'm just going to fill this with semi-hydro, take some cuts, and literally just poke them down into that. Oh, in fact, I'm tempted to try this. Where have I just put Mrs. There? I'm tempted to try this in tree fern fibre instead, because I've heard recently really amazing things from people talking about propagating Hoya in tree fern fibre and just how effective it is. And I've used it in my mixes before a lot, but I don't think I've ever propped purely in tree fern fibre. So maybe I'll do a little experiment here. Maybe I'll take some cuts and I will do it that way, just to see how we get on. And I could do some little wet stick bits as well. I mean, I know before people have said, can you prop Hoya from wet sticks, like without a leaf, just like that? And it is doable. To be honest, with this one, I don't really see the point, just because I've got so much of the plant here. But when I chopped up my Hoya macrophylla a while ago, I took some kind of just leggy bits like that and I just stuck them in water. And they did start to produce leaves over time. So you can absolutely do it, but I don't think I'm going to bother on this occasion. But then, yeah, like I say, this just offers me the potential to make the plant even fuller, because I love this plant, but it is currently just like one long vine. And to be completely honest, it would be happier on a trellis. I took it off the trellis when I first got it, actually, because I think it was when I tried to get Yoli in the car when I was coming back from Malvern, and I had like 20 plants in the car. It got broken and I had to take it off its trellis to see whereabouts on the main stem it had broken. And then when it was off, I was like, it's really long. Maybe I could train it. And to be honest, it has seemed pretty happy, just like climbing down my cabinet. And this is all growth since Malvern. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 12 leaves, which is, especially for a Hoya, and especially for an untrellised Hoya, really quite good in literally just a few months. So yeah, this is pretty amazing. But yeah, let's try tree fern fibre. This is brand new territory for me, because as I say, I will almost always just go in with soil or semi-hydro. I'm also not going to use drainage. I'm just going to monitor it closely. And this does seem to, as I say, grow very quickly and propagate very quickly as well. So I think I'm not even going to bother putting this in my cabinet. I mean, if I wanted something like zero maintenance, I could just pop these sections into a prop box. I could do that. But I think I'll probably just, if I can find space, put them on one of my shelves in the window. And I would have hoped in the next couple of weeks they'd be rooting. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on them. I've said it before as well, it's so simple when you prop Hoya, because literally you can just like grab them and just stick them in like that. And of course it is useful to try and include a node. They can also root from pretty much anywhere on the main stem. See those little bumps? Just there. Is my camera focusing? Yeah, they can produce roots. So, as I say, I think this one will probably get going quite quickly. I've still got my doubts actually as to whether or not this is a true Australis. I had lots of theories from you guys, because I don't know why. I can't remember actually what the debate was, but when I was at Malvern, several people there, because it was labelled as an Australis, several people there were like, no, it's definitely not, it would have this characteristic and that characteristic. And although I have had the Australis Lisa in my collection before, I don't think I'm enough of a Hoya head to actually be able to tell the difference that much between two that are so similar, because obviously this is a type of Australis if it's not a pure Australis. But some people were saying it's a Australis SP 794, or I don't know, some kind of cultivar that I'm not familiar with. So yeah, I've never really got a true answer on that, just so you can have a look. That's what the foliage looks like. It's very waxy, it's same colour on the back, it's smooth all the way round. anyone has any theories, please let me know. But yeah, it's a really lovely one. And it's been so easy to grow as well. My God, like after the initial breakage, it's really given me no drama at all. This morning, for the first time in such a long time, like, oh, I want to say months. I just had a few hours purely to myself, just doing planty things. And I know that sounds ridiculous saying that I haven't had that time in a few months, but you know when life just takes over, and plant care is always the thing that kind of brings me back to myself. It's my downtime, it's my lovely kind of relaxation me time. Oh, talk about relaxation me time, sorry, there's very loud traffic at the moment. But yeah, I think for the last kind of 5-6 months, I think just because I've been so busy, and not all with like bad things. I've been doing lots of crafts. I've just had other things that I've been wanting to do. Plant care has been very much a like, oh, that plant needs attention, let's do it now. And it's been a little bit kind of tick boxy. Or it will be like in the evenings when me and Ross are watching something on TV, I'll be doing plant stuff along with that, which is lovely. But there's something about waking up in the morning, making a cup of coffee and just pottering around and doing just nice, gentle things for your plants, just kind of gentle watering and just taking a moment to actually properly look at them and not just go, oh my God, it like something's going wrong. And it made me realise that I need to make time for that more. Honestly, often, like I say often, it has happened many a time in my life, I will fall out of doing that with my plants, and then when I come back to it, I'm like, oh, I miss this so much. So yeah, it was just a little reminder to make more time for moments like that, because it is just, it's the reason why we're all here, isn't it? It's just the best feeling in the world, the best feeling ever. But yeah, cool. Right, that was so easy, so straightforward. All I'm going to do now is just hydrate the tree fern fibre. And in fact, I've got my watering can here. Does it have, well, it's got the tiniest bit of water in it. I'm just going to give it a little water. And tree fern fibre holds water well, but it also is very good at draining. So you can kind of just see by looking at the bottom of it how much you've put in, and that actually for now is probably enough. But yeah, I'll keep a close eye on it and I'll let you know how it goes, because as I said, this is my first time doing it in this way, so I'm quite excited about it. But yeah, right, so another one that I'm thinking I will get rid of that I brought over. I'm gonna just do this sporadically as we go through. I've got some here there that I'm just like, oh nope, don't like you. I do like this plant, but it's currently very dehydrated. Oh yeah, it's not what I thought it was. So it's a Hawaria, but I thought this was a Zebrina Hawaria, and it's actually a Fasciata alba. That's what it looks like. And I actually haven't had this one that long. I've had this one for maybe 6 months. And to be completely honest, this was a bit of an impulse buy. I went to the garden centre with a friend who is just kind of getting into houseplants, and she was buying lots of things, and I was really excited for her, and I was like, oh my God. And I obviously was just like, well, I must buy something too. And it's so hard to walk into a garden centre and not buy anything, but I didn't need anything from there. Like, there were no plants that were really grabbing me. And I just looked at this one and I was like, oh, it's very pretty. And I was like, it's very low maintenance. And I don't have it currently, so I bought it, and to be honest, I don't think I've really spent any time admiring it since I bought it, so I feel like it went to a bit of a wasted home, which is quite sad. And again, just another reminder not to impulse buy for the sake of it. If I had a bigger place and space to be able to actually appreciate it, I might keep this plant, but I think just because at the moment, the majority of my plants are on my big window shelves, the ones that are in the window and are shelves. I've got 2 of those. All of my plants, or a lot of my plants, specifically my succulents, highlight plants, are there. And this one is right at the back of the shelf, so I can't easily look at it and see it. I have to be going there with a purpose, and that is usually just to water, and that's just a tick boxy thing, and it's just one more thing for me to be doing at the moment. And yeah, I don't think I need it. So again, I'm going to offer it up to the neighbours. This is one actually, if my neighbours don't want it, that my mum might want, because my mum really likes houseplants. I've said it before, she's not always the greatest with them, but I think that's just because she doesn't make time for them in the same way as she does like her garden plants, for example. And she's really on top of, oh my God, her garden is beautiful. She's so on top of things in the garden. So that one actually, because it is so low maintenance, might be quite a good one for her. So yeah. But on the note of making space for new plants, I have got one of my favourite plants, one of my favourite Hoyas that I've talked about for years and loved for years. It's my Hoya SP Beron AF, and this one is just growing beautifully for me. It has got so big and I'm so proud of this plant. I've also got cuttings of it literally left, right and centre all over my flat. I brought one kind of quite well rooted, in fact, wow, very well rooted cutting over that I thought I could pot up with it. But the one that I think I'm probably going to combine, I wanted to get, at the beginning of the year, I was very keen to get a variegated section of this plant because, as I say, I love the normal Beron AF. I really wanted to get a, I've just said it, variegated section, and I did, from one of you guys actually, so thank you so much. But it's growing well for me. However, it looks very sparse and it's not highly variegated, and I'm thinking actually putting them together might just, I don't know, it might make the plant just feel a little bit fuller. Maybe the variegated section will just add a little bit of dynamic, and then again it's one less thing for me to be caring for because then I can just care for the one plant. And to be honest, this one has been due for a pot upgrade for such a long time because I can't even remember the last time this one was repotted. But it's in really quite a small pot for the size of it now. And also it's got this section here, get out and show you, which obviously has a bare bit with no leaves. And I was thinking I could chop that and propagate it. However, it's done an interesting thing, and Hoyas are the only type of plant I've ever known to do this. It put out just basically like a completely bare stretch of vine initially with two leaves at the end, these two. And gradually over time, it's filled in with leaves. Like some of these have only become leaves or like developed in the last kind of few months, which I think is really cool. So I might actually just leave that as it is and hope that that sparse bit fills in. Oh, what have I potted this in? Okay. I have also just watered it. It's probably not the best timing. But this just looks kind of like standard base mix, but I have got some sphagnum moss on top for some reason. And what I'm thinking is probably, I'm going to do something nice and chunky, lots of bark. I've said it before, Hoyas are epiphytic plants, which means they typically don't grow right out of the ground. They grow attached to other things in their natural habitats. So lots of bark, things like tree fern fibre. And then, yeah, I'm going to pot this lovely rooted section up and the variegated section up as well. And I brought over this pot, and I'm not sure if this is actually going to be a bit big, but I'd like to keep it hanging if possible. Considering I'm working with 3 plants. Let's just have a look at this one's root system. But considering I'm working with 3 fairly well established plants, actually, I think this should be okay. And like I say, I'm gonna make it super well draining. I know there's a really straightforward way of getting these clips off. I can never do it. So yeah. Also, I'm not gonna like massively break up the root system. I'm just gonna try and get a little bit of the substrate off so that I can mix the new stuff through. Like, as I say, this has literally just had a water and it's quite saturated. Why have I got sphagnum moss in here? So yeah, I'd like it to just all be even, so heaven forbid one section of the plant doesn't like get root rot or something. But yeah, I've seen so many people over the years combining plants, I mean, in a much more dramatic way than I'm doing now, even like combining just plants with similar care needs, with similar watering requirements. And I think it can be such a great way to save space. But I don't know, like, I don't know, it's kind of the same thing as I can be funny about like certain colours. Certain types of plants, like I could have two plants that are next to each other, like touching each other in separate pots, fine. However, if they're combined in the same pot, I don't know why, it just like, it rubs me up the wrong way for some reason, and I cannot put my finger on why that is. But as I say, if I want to keep expanding my collection and keep getting new plants, I know I said at the beginning of this video, I feel like I'm kind of at the point at which like I can't take care of anymore. It's not that I physically can't take care of more, because I could, but I very much want to make sure that, like, obviously all of this started as a hobby. I want to keep it fun. I don't want it to feel like, oh God, I've got to do the plants. I want it to be something that is manageable and not overwhelming for me. So yeah, I feel like I'm at a good level. I don't want to push it anymore, but I also would like to just, I don't know, it's part of the fun of owning plants, isn't it? Like, it's not that I'm not satisfied with my collection as it is, but I think getting new things, and especially like, I feel like I'm expanding a little bit into new genuses and like things that I haven't explored before. It's just, I don't know, it's so much fun getting new plants. It's so hard to explain that to someone that isn't a planty person. Again, one of my other friends, who I think I mentioned in a video recently, she's just bought her first house, and she said to me, she's like, oh my God, you need to come around and help me find plants because I really want to make it planty. And it is just the most exciting thing in the world for me, because firstly, she's a non-planty person getting into plants, which, as I said before, is always quite fun, because I'm like, woohoo, something else that we can talk about. But yeah, it's just, oh, it's like the joy of it is just, it's like being a child again. It's one of the only things that has the ability to make me feel like I can play like I did when I was a kid. I just started on such a tangent and got distracted, didn't check my camera battery, and it just died. So I'm not quite sure where that got to, but I was basically just saying that for me, playing with plants is one of the things that makes me feel the most like connected to the feeling that I had when I was a child. I think just because like getting your hands dirty, like getting excited of, I don't know, it almost feels like living in a little, like just living in your own world. Like you notice things that no one else notices. And I know, like, I don't know, although I think it is wonderful if you've got a partner or someone you live with who is also into plants, like, and Ross is kind of like getting into them a little bit, but it's quite nice to just still have it as like my thing, because I'm like, a lot of the time I'll look at a new leaf that's unfurled and I'm like, only I have seen that, like, and I made that happen. And that new plant over there, or like my massive Monstera dubia, I'm like, that plant wouldn't exist if it wasn't for me. And there's just something, it's just like magic, isn't it? I mean, nature is just so magical. So yeah, I love it. I love it so much. But right, let's mix up something really chunky and really nice. I've got this bowl, which actually is a salad bowl, which has absolutely become plant bowl, which has got a nice chunky mix already in there. I think I might just add a little bit more bark to what's here. I think this is just, in fact, I've poured loads of things in here, but this is base mix, Soil Ninja base mix, tree fern fibre, bark, I think some leca and semi-hydro as well. So it's a complete mix of stuff, but I think this will be good for the plant. Also, if you can hear a bit of banging and drilling, I've got building work going on at the moment, so I do apologise. It's gonna be a little bit noisy for a while. Luckily, actually, and I'm probably jinxing it right now, but so far, my camera doesn't seem to have picked up that much of the noise. There's been a few times where I've been filming a video and I've been really distracted because I can hear like banging and people like walking past the window and stuff. But actually when I've come to listen to it back, I'm like, oh, you can barely hear anything. So I'm hoping you just don't notice it really. Right. I mean, that is a very, very chunky mix to the point that there's, I would say, almost no soil in that. I might just add some worm castings for a little bit of fertilisation. And I'm not measuring any of this. I'm literally just doing it by sight. When I was first kind of getting into plants, I mean, that's one thing I actually really enjoyed, was kind of like measuring out my soils, and I was really strict. I was like, right, 20% of this and then 5% of that, and it kind of felt like mixing up potions when you're a child. But to be honest, like now, like I never ever mix. I'll just be like, oh, I know that likes that, I know that likes that. Unless it's a plant that has a very like specific like a pH requirement in the soil, for example, I will 99% of the time just do it like I'm doing now. But yeah, so let's see how this looks. And you know what, one thing I want to do, just because, as I say, this one is wet. I watered this today. And I don't want to, ideally, I don't want to pot it up and then water it again with the risk of it rotting. However, these ones are going to need some moisture because they've just come out of water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hydrate what I've got here first. I'm going to just run this under the tap. It's going to be very messy, isn't it? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run this under the tap, hydrate the mix that's there. Then I can pot this section directly into the wet stuff. And then I can pot the rest around it, if that makes sense. It makes sense to me, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, and so it doesn't drip all over me, I've just put it on a plate for the time being. Yeah, I have lost plants by accident doing things that way before. As I say, I've watered them, I've potted them up, and then I've watered them again, and essentially you end up over-watering, even if you're potting healthy roots into the soil, because they don't need any more water. They've absorbed as much as they can. But I think this is going to work pretty well. Okay, still very drippy, but my God, that has made such a difference. You know what, I actually really quite like that. So yeah, that is what it's now looking like. And it looks like a big full plant. It's a little bit sparse on this side, but to be honest, I don't mind that because I'm just going to face it towards the direction that it's been going in, into the room, because it looks nice like that. But look how gorgeous that looks. And I don't think it looks weird with the variegated section in there at all. So yeah. Oh, okay. That's really encouraging. I'm really glad I did that. And it's going to look like, as I say, in the hanging spot that I've got this plant in at the moment, it's going to look like a much lovelier, healthier, fuller plant there now. I am just going to keep it on its plate for the time being, just while that section drains, and then I will hang it later. Oh, okay, right. So the next ones that I wanted to combine is another Hoya, and so I've got several sections of my Hoya macrophylla, which is this plant here. It's doing very well, it's very big, it's very beautiful. I've taken multiple sections of this plant to plant swaps over the last couple of years. And I've got another section of it here as well, which I've just got growing in semi-hydro. And I absolutely should get this plant onto a trellis, but I don't currently have any trellises. As you can see, it does need to be trellised, but I will order some more and I can add the trellis in afterwards. But when I was at Emma's recently, honestly, I don't think I ever leave Emma's house without a plant. And she probably says the same for me, actually. But she had this section of what to me looks very similar to the Hoya macrophylla. I'm not sure if it's a slightly different variant. She was given it as, I think, a Hoya latifolia. And I can't remember exactly, but I think, and in fact, we were talking about this earlier, I think macrophylla and latifolia might now have been classified as the same thing. Not 100% on that one. But because they look so similar, I was like, I really wouldn't mind if they were potted together. But it will be a very, very full pot because I have got this section as well. So I either get rid of this section and pot these two together, or I just have a very full pot. So I'm gonna just look and see what pots I've got that I could fit these ones in. And then, yeah, see how I get on. I might end up getting rid of some of this plant, but if I could make it lovely and full, I would really like to. That's my aim at the moment. I would just like to maximise the potential of the plants that I've got in my collection, bring out the best, make them look their best, and like, as I say, combining that immediately has made it look better. So let's keep going. Right, pot. So I'm going to look at the root systems and see obviously how big they are and how much room I've got to play with. I don't want to go in with anything too deep because I feel like the root systems are going to be quite shallow, but just from looking at the plants without seeing their roots, I feel like something like that is probably going to be the best. This is about 15 centimetres and maybe I could go smaller, but that's what I've grabbed for now. So let's get them out. And let's just have a little look. I said I thought the root system would be small and shallow. My God. Whoa. I don't know if I've ever seen such a rooty Hoya. That's crazy. Yeah, this one started, again, I'm not going to fully break up the root system, I'm just going to loosen it. This one started as an import plant when I was back at my mum's house from Green Spaces ID, I want to say. And this would be probably 2.5 years ago. In fact, I think I'm right in saying it's the same order that I got my Hoya latifolia Sarawak in, I think. And yeah, I have just chopped and propped and chopped and propped, and it has just been such a quick one to grow. And I've never had it on a trellis, I don't think. And I've had lots of Hoyas that I've never put on trellises. And to be honest, and this is a really bad thing to say, it's literally just because I haven't always liked the look of trellises. But going back to what I was saying about wanting to bring out the best in the plants, I think I need to just either accept the fact I'm not going to have particularly healthy Hoyas. Oh, there's a little spider on it. Ooh, go on to that plant and I'll take you outside in a minute. Yeah, either accept the fact that I'm not going to have as healthy plants as I would like to, or yeah, get used to the fact that they grow in a certain way and support that. So yeah, I got the trellises that I used recently on Amazon, and I know, like I always say, you should totally support small businesses. Amazon is just convenient, isn't it? Like, they arrive the next day and I really like them. They're simple, they're like no frills, there's no like, oh, it's the shape of a love heart or this or that, or like, obviously whatever floats your boat, but for me, I'm like plain simple. So I'm tempted to maybe get another one of those because they were cheap as well. And this is the thing, like trying to really bring out the best in your plants, as well as obviously adding more plants to your collection. It is expensive. Like it's a cheaper hobby to have than a lot, because obviously you can chop and propagate, and plants can grow with just water, and so in that sense it's cheap. But things just add up. Like sometimes I'll place a soil order and I'm like, God, it's like it can wipe you out quite easily. So yeah, I've also got a very busy month. I've got a lot on, and I think just being a little bit sensible about these things is probably quite a good idea, especially if I'm thinking I might order some more plants. I don't know if I'm going to order full plants or cuttings. I might go for the cuttings. Again, I think that's probably the more sensible option. I don't know, I said it in my video the other day, but I've just got home and I'm just like, I don't know, sometimes you need to step away to have that excitement kind of relit. And I'm just feeling so excited by my plants at the moment, and it's such a wonderful feeling. And I know that everything I do needs to be sustainable. Like I know I go through obsessive patches of like hyper focusing on my plants and being like, oh my God, I must get loads more, and then kind of burning myself out of it. I don't want to do that this time. But right now everything's feeling very under control and very like, I want more. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And I got I've been getting a few funny comments recently, but I got a comment on one of my videos when I was away, actually, from someone being like, this woman is encouraging you all to buy, like you're just as bad as a makeup influencer, you're encouraging people to buy all these plants that they then can't look after, and all this sort of stuff. And I'm absolutely, that's not what I'm meaning to do. I mean, I know that comment also was like, I take with a pinch of salt. But yeah, like I share my excitement online because plants excite me, and there's some that I might be like, oh yeah, I'd recommend this one because it makes me happy. You don't need to run out and buy it. You can also have a perfectly healthy, happy, and probably much more like mentally sound and stable collection with a much smaller collection. Like I was happy with my plant collection when I had 10 plants. It's just that the more time's gone on, the more time I've also got to dedicate to it, because I do planty things pretty much full time now. Or in fact, I do them full time now. So yeah, like it's just basing things around your situation. I know for a fact some of you guys have much bigger and much broader collections than I do. Like I have seen some of your collections and they are insane. When I went to Hutch Houseplants as well, they were telling me about a guy that comes in pretty much weekly to buy new plants whenever they have a restock, and they said that he had about 1,500 plants, which like I cannot even comprehend. Like that's amazing, but like how? So yeah, it's just working within your means and not burning yourself out by what you take on. And for me at the moment, this feels manageable with my situation and what I do. I'm not saying it would for everyone. I'm also saying that for some people, this would be a breeze. So yeah, I never mean to badly influence. I only mean to share the fun of it all. And like, the fun of it can be contagious. Like I will watch other creators' videos sometimes and I will come away. I mean, in fact, this morning I was watching Natasha, who's planted in platinum. I was watching one of her videos, and honestly, I was going around with my watering can and I was looking at all these plants. I was like, oh my God, I was like, there's so many and I really want some of these. And some of the ones I was looking online were because I watched that video, and I am so easily influenced myself. Also, I've just noticed this one's got an adorable little leaf. Look at that. Beautiful. These are really good roots. Really, really, really good roots. Yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that, but stay with what feels best for you and don't be easily influenced, says the person that is so easily influenced. Okay. Okay. I'm thinking, again, I'm going to mix up something very similar for what I did for the SP Beron AF just now, something very chunky. But I think the same, what am I saying? Can't find my words. I think this pot will be fine, is what I'm saying. And then I can add a trellis in afterwards. So yeah, I'm making 3 plants into one, so technically I'm freeing up lots of space. And this semi-hydro, I'm just going to put into this pot here, if I can do this neatly, because then I can boil up the semi-hydro and use it again. Neatly. Oh no, it's going everywhere. In fact, some of this semi-hydro can just go into the mix. There we go, that's easier. Oh, in fact, I've got 2 sections here as well. So I can spread it out and make a really full pot at least, which is good. There's a plant down here, in fact, that I haven't shown you yet, and it's a sempervium. I have never owned this type of plant before. That's what it looks like. It kind of looks a little bit like an echeveria, and it's got all of these babies all around the side, which I'm pretty sure I can divide and pot up as their own plants. And bless Ross, he got me this when we got back from holiday, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, I've said this over on Patreon already, but I had a friend who was staying here looking after Yoli when I was away, who actually has just moved to Thailand. He moved abroad the day after we got back from holiday, and so I spent the day with him. I went and I dropped him off at the airport, and on my way back, actually on my way back I felt fine, but I got back here, me and Ross started eating dinner, and all of a sudden I felt so unwell, and I was very ill all of that night, and I wasn't very well for the next couple of days. And as I say, I tried to film a video at that time, and I honestly watched it back and I was like, that cannot be seen by the world. It was so bad. I was like, this is a nice plant. But anyway, I wasn't feeling very well. Ross went back to work, and bless him, to make me feel better, he grabbed that on his way home, and he was like, I don't think you've got this one. And it's really cool. It's really, really cool. So yeah, I'm excited to play about with it. It's not, I mean, to be honest, it's not a plant that I think I would have chosen for myself, but only because I mean, do I have like a typical plant? I was going to say typically I don't go, sorry baby, just made Yoli jump. Typically I, on the whole, don't go for succulents quite as much. But I think it's lovely, and I think especially, as I say, because it does look like you can divide so many sections from it, I think it would be quite fun to play about with. Oh, there goes the door. Yes, thank you. 1 second. Someone rung the bell, and then it wasn't even for me. What was I saying? I was saying, yeah, I think this little one, the one with the bits that you can, by the looks of it, divide, I think that would be quite fun to pot up in, like, for example, all of the planters that Ross is making. Like, he's made loads of little head planters and stuff like that, and I just think they would look really cool in things like that, and they'd be very easy to monitor. Again, when I've got a little bit more shelf space, it'd be nice to kind of spread those things out and be able to properly get to look at them, because my only fear is that because that is a plant that stays quite compact, and very similarly actually to this one that I said I was going to get rid of, I do worry that it might just get kind of crammed at the back of a shelf and neglected a little bit. So I'm going to try not to let that happen. But oh my god, since we've got back to the UK, Ross has been making so many more things, and he's made some amazing stuff, honestly. Like, it blows my mind, the stuff that he's creating. I'll show you one, actually. He's posted it on his Instagram, I think. And I know it's not finished at the moment, but I swear the camera won't pick up the detail that well. But this is going to be a little propagation container or semi-hydro type thing, and it's got these tentacles that wrap around it, and it's just really, really cool. And yeah, most evenings, as I say, I'll be kind of cramming in all the planty things I need to be doing, and we'll have either like a movie on or a TV show or whatever we're watching, or we'll be sat chatting and I'll be doing planty things and he'll be making things out of clay, and it's a weird little life, but yeah, we're very happy with it like that, so it works for us. Oh, and I've also brought something else over that I would have completely forgotten about. I've just seen next to me. Deal with that in a minute. Okie doke. Oh, I know another one that I need to combine as well. Another Hoya. I said it the other day actually, but my Hoya latifolia sarawak has got 3 sections now, all of which are ready to be potted together. One bit is tendriling beautifully, and oh, it would look so lovely on a trellis. So that's definitely something I need to do, but as I say, I don't have a trellis right now. So I think maybe I'll leave that one just for today. Earlier on, I should have made note of everything, because earlier on when I was going through and I was watering and I was looking at everything, there were so many things that I was like, oh, I could combine that, I could combine that. And I only brought these ones over, and now I'm like, what were the other things? I've got lots of cuttings and stuff to pot up as well, so I could do some of that. Oh, this is going to be a lovely full pot. My God. I just don't want to overcrowd it. You know, when you pot so much of something in there, you don't know how you're actually going to be able to get the substrate in. So careful of that little leaf as well, it's so delicate. Wow, just look how full that is. That's ginormous. Oh, it just absolutely elevates the plants. I feel so happy that I've done this. Okay, cool. That one again is done. I will get a trellis on it, but I will be doing that when I've ordered trellises, because currently I haven't. And then the other one that I brought over to do, so this one currently is not looking that healthy, and it's a type of begonia that I haven't owned before, and I can't actually remember the name of it. So I'll put the name on the screen, but this is what it looks like. That's the back of the leaves, it's very pretty. And I started this off in water, I think about a month ago, and it has got some little roots, but it's just been very floppy and it hasn't been looking great. So I'm thinking I might pot it up in the so I need to just like put some water on my hands. I hate that feeling so much. You know, when you've had your hands in dry soil, it just feels gross. But yeah, I'm thinking I might pot it up in the no drainage way that I've been doing for lots of plants recently, but I have noticed begonia responds really, really well to it. My begonia Sinbad, when I was rooting more cuttings of that, I decided to transfer some a little bit earlier than I might have done, like when they were about at this stage, and I was like, oh, is that going to be too soon? Is that going to be too much for them? And they have just thrived. So it feels like the right decision. I don't know anything about this begonia. As I say, I'm very new to the genus. But it feels like a good call to make. I've got a clean jar just here. So what I'm going to do is exactly what I have been doing with the others. I'm just going to put a layer of semi-hydro at the bottom, and then a chunky mix. Again, I can probably reuse this. A chunky mix on top of that. And then I might just trim back some of the brown bits on this begonia just literally for aesthetic purposes. And then hopefully it would just allow the plant to kick into action and start giving me some beautiful growth, because it's another one I'm really excited about. It's such a lovely one. And I know you guys, when I was speaking about all the begonia-y things that I was doing, you guys were saying where, or a few of you were asking where I got my begonia Sinbad, where I was getting my begonias from. And I've bought from a few different places, but the one place that I'm kind of keeping quite close to my chest is a Etsy shop called, I'll put it just there, but I think it's called Begonia Addict, and India is the person that runs it. I've had such good experiences with them, honestly. Like, all of the cuttings have been packaged immaculately. The begonia Sinbad, as I say, just blew my mind, but everything has just been so wonderful. So yeah, I would highly recommend that seller if you're in the UK. It's always nice when you find a really good Etsy seller, isn't it? I've had so many brilliant sellers that I've used in the past that have either just stopped selling or closed their shops. And I'm always so gutted when I go back to Etsy and I'm like, right, okay, I'm ready to shop, and they're not there anymore. So yeah, if you guys have got any little hidden treasures, feel free to comment them down below, because I'm always looking for good independent sellers. Or in fact, if any of you sell yourself, like, I'd be so interested to know. Yeah, in fact, if any of you have shops or like anything of any kind, even if it's not related to plants, like just little independent businesses, I'm always so interested to know more about that. So please feel free to give yourself a shameless plug down in the comments. I don't mind at all. And yeah, I love checking out your stuff. There's a few people over on my Patreon who have got Etsy shops and things like that, and it's just so awesome to see what you guys get up to. Like, I feel like a lot of the time planty people are just very creative, and it's just so wonderful. Where's the lid? Oh, it's right there. Also, what I'm doing right now, as in tree fern fibre, base mix and bark, that's what I've done for the begonia Sinbad, and that one's growing very happily in this way. I actually don't know if this is the best mix for begonias. Like I say, I should really sit down and do a little bit of research. If anybody would like to educate me in the comments, please do. But this is what I've done so far, and it seems to have worked well. So that's what I'm just repeating. I'm just repeating what's worked, but there might be a better way of doing this. Who knows? But yeah, you can see it's starting to give me a little bit of new growth down there. So hopefully, potting it up like this might just be what it needs to get going. And I've had it hanging right in the window. Actually, it's been in another one of Ross's creations. It's been hanging up in probably 2 higher light, I would say. I know they're typically kind of like medium light plants. Maybe that's why it hasn't been very happy. Perfect. And while I'm doing this, okay, so also that's what it looks like, sorry, didn't even show you. Getting distracted already. And yeah, as I say, I would just fill a little reservoir at the bottom and monitor it that way. But while I'm doing this, one thing I might just take a look at, I'm not ready to get rid of this plant, but so I should probably change my camera battery. Hold that thought for 1 second. I thought I'd take the opportunity to just get to the plant that I was talking about. I was going to say, in fact, before we get to that plant, this is the Tupperware box of Scanta that I was telling you about, the one that I'm like, I've got it for the sake of it. Part of me is like, maybe I can make myself fall in love with it. Maybe I should hang on to it, but Yeah, like if Ross doesn't want this, I will ask him, but if he doesn't want this, I am going to be getting rid of it because I don't want it. I honestly don't want it. And I'm amazed that with how little I care about this, I've kept it alive so long. And the other one that I'm not sure about, I've got loads of these ones that I'm kind of second guessing and like questioning. But this one, again, I'm not sure how much I care about it. This is my, oh, I can't remember the Latin name. I only know the slur for this one, which I only found out was not a particularly nice word. This is a crassula of some sort. I'll put the name on the screen. I really like it. But again, I think just because a lot of this is just down to lack of space, it's one that I don't appreciate enough because, again, it's just in succulent corner. But I do think that if I had more space, it is one that I would potentially want again. So I'm like, do I just hang on to it? I don't know. So yeah, I'm a little bit torn on this one. But the one that I wanted to just have a look at, and I can see there is stuff happening in here, is my Anthurium veitchii. And did you forget I had an Anthurium veitchii? Because I certainly did. It's been in this bag for a very long time. And this is a plant, oh my God, it's so small. This is a plant that I have on and off, just always really struggled with. And that's what it's currently looking like. It's got 2 teeny tiny leaves. And I was just actually wondering if perhaps, depending on its root system, it's very green, but depending on its root system, if maybe this one would be happy in this way of growing, because I've got my luxurians growing in this way. Seems really happy. And I may as well try it with this plant because I haven't had much luck doing things other ways. Let's just very gently lift it out and have a look at its root system. I don't want to throw it into shock or do anything to bring it down while it is still so small. And maybe it's just not ready, but I thought, oh yeah, oh my God, where are its roots? Okay. Okay. So, most of the roots look good, and then there's a few that don't. So you can see, also it's suddenly got really dark. I think it's about to thunder. It's like the sky's gone black. But yeah, a lot of the roots are very full and pale, and then there's some around this side, which at the bottom, you can see are a little bit sludgy, so I'm going to give it a bit of a trim back. I'd so love to get this plant back to health. If you watched my reaction video to my bedroom houseplant tour recently that I did, you'll have seen my original Anthurium veitchii, and that one, out of all of the veitchiis, I say all of the veitchiis, I think there's only been 2, but the other veitchiis that have come after it, the original did the best. The original, oh, it gave me beautiful growth and I just loved it. But again, it was root rot that brought that one down, and they are just Anthuriums that are very susceptible to root rot in my experience. So yeah, I think growing this one in a clear container where I can monitor the roots is a really good idea. And I'd quite like to try it in the no drainage method. Just like, I know that might sound counterintuitive having just said that it's susceptible to root rot, but obviously that doesn't mean without monitoring the roots. I'd just be interested to see how it gets on, because I've tried it in other ways and I haven't had success. So what have I got to lose apart from the plant? Right, and I think what I'm left with here is all pretty healthy. There we go. And see, I think that looks pretty good. Look at the adorable little leaves. Okay, So again, literally what I've just done. In fact, not that it really makes a huge difference, but I'm going to use Leca at the bottom only because I used Leca for the other anthurium and the other anthurium seems happy, and therefore some part of my brain thinks that that is now the best thing to do, even though it's literally exactly the same. Also, on the note of anthuriums, can I pick your brains? Any anthurium growers, anthurium experts? Anyone that watches my videos? I've had a bit of a rearrange just behind me by the TV, and I've put my crystallinum hybrid and my anthurium luxurians. You can probably see actually just there, yeah, luxurians, crystallinum. I've put them just there. And that's not a spot that is particularly easy to grow light. Obviously I could put something below the TV, but that would be for much smaller plants. And that, I would say that is kind of like, not a low light spot, but on the lower side of medium. And I'm just not quite sure how they're going to do that. If I turn the main lights off, just so you see, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not that bright there. And granted, it has just clouded over. But I'm just, yeah, I'm not sure if that's a really bad decision. I love the look of them there. But obviously I want to think about the plant's needs first. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Do you think they'll work? Do you think... I don't know. Part of me was wondering, actually. Mother Grow Lights have just started doing this white grow bar, which I'd really, really, really like to try actually, and it is longer, I think, than their black ones. It also apparently, like, this is a complete side note, but apparently it has light properties that help. They're almost like sad lamps for people. They like help make you happy, which I really love. But I was thinking maybe if I was to run one of those along the edge of this thing and point it up, that could work. I don't know, that's just a thought. That would also maybe be a bit weird because it'd be light coming from below. Also, what am I doing? That's what I'm doing. But yeah, that was just a thought. I always like having a bit of a shift up and a mix up in my collection, but yeah, just figuring it all out can take some time. And obviously I've just taken this little Anthurium veitchii out of the plastic bag, so I think what I'll probably do once I've potted this up is put it back into the bag for at least a week or so, just so that its environment doesn't change dramatically twice. And then I can start opening the bag every day and just kind of giving it a little bit more room humidity and just slowly acclimating it, probably to my cabinet actually. I think it'd be happy in my cabinet. But yeah, that is what it's looking like. And I know that wasn't technically one on the list, but I do feel good having done it. And I feel so good having combined those plants. I'm going to continue to do this. Because yeah, I've now got several spots that have opened up for potential new things, which is very exciting. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there for today. I'm not sure how long I've been filming for, but I really hope if you were doing stuff along with this, you've got lots done. I feel like I've accomplished today. It's a very good feeling. And yeah, it's just been nice kind of getting back into the flow of things and having a bit of a catch up with you guys. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, whatever you're doing. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.